Allah had bestowed upon him and his family.
Very well, Council. You may continue. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Bolaji, in 2011, the Office of the President attempted to purchase Gamveg oil and paid $700,000 into their account with GT Bank.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you confirm the receipt of $700,000
Yes, I
from
can.
the central bank?
I can.
Yes. Can you tell us the details from the statement of account? Do you need the statement?
The details.
Yes,
I have
the
a
payment.
telex copy here.
You have the telex?
Yes.
Very, very good. All right. Can you tell us about it?
Okay. On the 18th of January 2001, 2011, sorry, there was $700,000 paid by the Gambian government into Gamveg's account.
Okay. Where did it come from?
Here the details are MDRI HIPC Relief Account, Directorate of National Treasury, Ministry of Finance, the Quadrangle Banjul.
Okay. Right. Thank you. Now, there was correspondence with your bank regarding this sale. There was correspondence with your bank regarding this sale. Could you tell us your bank's involvement in this sale?
Where are those documents?
We will need that telex transfer. Just put it aside.
Okay.
We'll take it together with any other documents you have.
Okay. You want a copy of the telex? You want a copy
Yes, we will take it together with other documents you have. What we would like you to tell us your bank's involvement in this sale and how it came about.
There are a series of letters, correspondences that are here, which was written to Mohamed Bazi, and were copied in some of them.
Written by who?
The first one here on the 26th of October 2009 was written by A.M. Salah, Secretary General.
Written by who?
A.M. Salah.
Sal.
Yes.
S-A-L.
S-A-L-L-A-H.
Okay, Salah.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
All right.
Okay, so he talks about the proposed sale of Gamveg Oil Company Limited, and it was addressed to Mohamed Bazi. He says, I have the honor to refer to the letter reference Gamveg ESG/0912, dated 12th September 2009, addressed to His Excellency the President of the Republic. His Excellency the President, having noted the content of your letter, has instructed me to inform you that the plant and machinery can be bought at a price of 2.7 million only. The rest of what you claim to have spent cannot be included in the price, as the company has been operating the factory since its completion. Any buyer has to spend some money to rehabilitate some of the equipment's wear and tear. We are prepared to negotiate for $2.7 million only for all the assets. So this was the...
Yeah. Mr. Bolaji, there was a reason why your bank was being copied. So what I want you to assist us with, just to put things in context, is to tell us your bank's involvement in this transaction.
Okay.
Why were you being copied?
Okay.
And the documents that you have.
I think the reason why we were in copy is that Gamveg was owing Guarantee Trust Bank some amount of money, about $3 million, and the issue was that they told us they wanted to sell the factory to pay off the debt. So that was why we got involved, or that was why I think they copied us. They told the government to copy us.
Okay. Were you in office at the time?
Were
you in office?
No, I wasn't the one in the office. Yes.
Who handled this file in your office?
It's my former MD. That should be Lekon Sanusi.
That's fine.
Yes.
So they entered into an agreement with government to purchase this.
Yes.
Yes. Can you provide us with a copy of the agreement?
There was no agreement. We didn't get any agreement from government on this regarding
There was an agreement entered into between Gamvej
and government.
and Mr. Muhammad Bazi, or with Gamvej Oil, not Mr. Muhammad Bazi.
No, we didn't have a copy of that agreement.
Mr. Bolaji, please check again, because you have already produced to my office copies of documents which include an agreement.
Come again, ma'am.
You have already provided to my office copies
Yes.
of documents for this transaction which included the agreement.
Is it a letter written by Dr. Joguba?
No, an agreement entered into between Gamvej and the government for the purchase of Gamvej. We want all the documents concerning this and the facility that you extended to socials, the facility that you extended to KGI and which was guaranteed by Social Security.
Yes, we have all that.
Sorry?
We have that.
Yes, but the first transaction,
Yes.
it's correct, Mr. Gamvej owed the bank money,
Yes, please.
and the government copied you on documents showing that, and at least the office of the president wrote to them, copying you, showing that they were going to purchase
Yes, please.
in order for Gamvej to be able to settle their debts with you.
Yes, please.
And what was the bank's part in this? You had documents that were provided to you to give you comfort that the government was going to purchase.
Yeah, it was letters we got, and then there was promissory notes that we got also, which wasn't fully executed. And I have those documents here. And then there is a banking facility offer which we gave to the government also. Those documents are here.
This came from. Do you want time to look at your files and all the documents that you have?
I have the documents here. That's why I said I don't know which one you have.
Well, yes, I'll show you what I have, because we had sent you a notice to produce for our
Okay.
inspection,
Okay.
and you had provided us the bank statements,
Yes, please.
and you had provided us these documents as well. I'll give them to you.
Okay.
Can I have the other parts?
It's the same document.
Yes. Yes, it came, yes, it came from your office.
Yes. So is this one that we
All right. What we'll do, okay. Since you don't have everything, we will just adjourn to tomorrow so that you can check and bring us.
Sorry, please put your mic on. Your mic? Yes.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. Oh, all right. We want two packages. There were two transactions which involved your office. The one in which the government proposed to buy Gamveg, which apparently did not go through, and the second set, which we don't have.
We have that.
You have that?
Yes.
Including the proposed sale agreement?
Yes, we have that.
Yes.
Okay,
we'll take that one.
Okay.
This one we'll suspend and you will check your records and bring us the entire records tomorrow. Let's move on to the other one. Can I have my documents back, please? Thank you. So what happened? Why did the first one not go through?
Well, I don't have a reason. I don't know. But what I have found in the file was that there were promissory notes which were supposed to be executed by the government, saying that the government will pay the remaining $2 million in 4 tranches. But that document was not executed. We just have the promissory note here, which was signed, but the central bank didn't sign, and then the bank also didn't sign.
All right, thank you. We would need, I think, whatever documents you have to complete it. Let's move on to the second part of the story, which is when KGI and Social Security came in. What happened?
What happened?
Yes. Tell us your involvement.
Okay, what happened was when the one for the government didn't work out, KGI approached the bank that the bank should grant it $2 million loan to pay to Gamveg. And we were given guarantee by Social Securities, and that was what happened. So we availed them the $2 million, which was paid into Gamveg's account.
Okay. Were you in the bank at the time?
Yes, I was.
You were at the bank?
Yes, I was.
Was it KGI that approached you, or was it the Office of the President that wrote telling you that...
We had letters from KGI signed by Usman Y. Bojang, the managing director. But
what's the date of the letter?
It was dated 24th December 2011.
Okay.
21st December 2011.
Yeah. Before the letter of 21st December 2011, you had letters.
Okay, yeah, there was another letter on the 29th of November 2011 also, signed by Usman Y. Bojang.
Okay, you had letters from the Office of the President dated 23rd March 2010, 18th May 2011, and 24th let's start 18 May 2011 and regarding this matter, this one is before that 23rd March 2010, 24th December 2010, and 18 May 2011. Can you find them, please? If you can't, I'll show you what the ones I have.
Okay, but this 2010 March 23rd 2010 relates to when the government was doing the purchase. Am I correct?
Okay. The 24th December 2010.
24th December 2010.
incorporated a company, you'll be notified of all the details that would inherit and run the operations of the oil refining using the assets of GAMVEG.
Yes, please.
Yes, we would appreciate it if the bank can process a facility for the balance of the consideration of 2 million.
Yes, please.
This is 2 million plus the 700,000 that had already been paid.
Yes, please.
You have that letter.
It's here.
Yeah, that's the first letter you had regarding, yes.
Yeah, but
Can
this-
we have that letter, yes?
Okay.
Put it aside. And then you have the letter of 18 May 2011.
18th May 2011. Or is it 20th May 2011?
18th May 2011. It's addressed to you, GAMVEG Oil, Managing Director, GAMVEG Oil, Managing Director, GT Bank.
I can't see that.
From the Office of the President.
I can't see that here.
I have a copy. Can you
Okay.
show him?
This is not here.
Yes?
This is not here. We don't have this here.
But you recollect that is a letter written to you,
Honestly, I don't know
informing
because-
you that the government has incorporated a company that would inherit and run the...
Honestly, I don't, like I said, I wasn't the managing director then, so, but it's possible we got a copy of this letter.
All right. Who was handling this? You said who was handling this account?
Who was handling the account?
Yes. Can you check and confirm? Because meetings were held. This letter refers to discussions at the meeting held on 15 December 2010 in the boardroom of Guarantee Trust Bank,
Yes.
Gambia Limited. I would assume, as managing director, you would have chaired that meeting.
Yeah, that's why, that if you look at the letter on the 24th of December 2010 also, they were referring to that same meeting, which they mentioned that the people, you had Mohamed Bazi, then Lekos Sanusi, the MD then.
But what is, okay, but what is different in this letter? It's asking by copy of this letter,
Yes.
Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs is hereby notified to engage Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation.
Okay.
Also, by copy, Honorable Mamburinjai is kindly required to initial the attached business sales agreement and so on.
Okay.
So this one, what is the context? You are here to help us. We need to understand what happened. If you need time, we'll give you time.
No, like I said, it was clear then government wanted to buy the assets of GAMVEG. And this was a process. A process was put in place whereby government was authorized, the government authorized these people to effect and allow these transactions to go ahead. But like I told you, we had promissory notes. We had a loan agreement that was given to the government of Gambia. I have a copy here. And the government of the Gambia was meant to make payments on every 6 months, which is backed by this promissory note, which wasn't activated.
I understand.
Yes,
How
ma'am.
did KGI come into the picture? Government in this letter is telling you it's going to incorporate a company, which is going to be the borrower.
Yes.
Did government incorporate a company?
No.
Who became the borrower?
It was KGI eventually.
And the security was extended on behalf of KGI?
Yes, please.
Okay, that's the documents that you have.
Yes, please.
Okay, tell us what is in the package that you have and submit it. Including the letter that you confirmed. Well, let's not include the letter that you cannot confirm. That's the letter of 18th May. We'll invite someone else. Let me have that letter back. Or do you need it to check your files?
Ma?
Do you need that letter to check your records? If
Except
you don't,
right.
that's fine. Give it back. Do you have the facility agreement?
Yes, please.
That's between KGI and,
Guarantee Trust Bank.
yes, and the security was a guarantee from Social Security?
Yes, please.
Do you have the guarantee?
We have a copy. It's here. A copy.
It's there. All right, thank you. There was a sale agreement between KGI and Gamvej with regard to the purchase.
Yes.
Do you have the sale agreement?
Where's the sales agreement? There should be a sales agreement, which I saw. Yes, sir. Sales agreement from KGI. You didn't bring it? No, it's not there. There's a sales agreement. I don't think we have it here. We can't lay hands on it. But I know there was a sales agreement which we saw. Yes.
Mr. Bolaji, I know there were two sales agreements.
Yes, like I
One
said,
between,
I know for the KGI.
yeah, between
I saw that.
Gamvej and the government.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
And which were provided to your bank as comfort to show you that government was going to sell. And I know there was a second sale agreement,
Yes,
which
that
had
I-
to be
that I
provided
remember.
as security
Yeah,
for
that
the
I
loan. We
remember
will
very
require that your bank provides all.
Okay, no problem.
So at this stage, Mr. Chairman, I'd applied for the witness, Mr. Bolaji, to come back tomorrow at 10 o'clock to provide all the documents that comprise the two packages.
Very well, so be it. You may leave.
Thank you. I recall the Solicitor General.
The Solicitor General. Thank you.
Yes. Mr. Marina, you're welcome. Can we remind you of your oath, that you're still on the oath? Yes. Thank you. You can have a seat.
Thank you. Yes, that's all right.
Mr. Marina, you were summoned with regard to two matters.
Yes.
One was in relation to GFFI, Gambia Food and Feed. Company, investment company limited, I believe. Industry, not investment, industry. The other in relation to Galia.
Yes.
We understand both these organizations are involved in arbitrations.
Yes, that is correct.
Yes, can we start with GFFI?
The GFFI project was
the subject of arbitration in relation to not the GFFI itself, but the investors that were or who were involved in the GFFI project. That is Conapro, a Lebanese registered company. They basically entered into, apart from the GFFI project, an oil supply contract with the government of the Gambia. Sometime in October 2010. And the government basically was for the supply of heavy fuel oil to the government through, GNPC. But then the government terminated the contract even before it was operationalized. And as a result, the investors, Conapro, took the Gambia government to arbitration. And basically they claimed damages of $32 million for the loss of potential profit that arose from the breach or termination of the contract. The arbitration proceedings had gone ahead until January this year, when the new government came into office, and the Office of the Attorney General decided to enter into settlement talks with Conapro with a view to settling the claims that were being made by Conapro. And after some talks that were held in London, a settlement was reached for the Gambia government to pay Conapro $4.6 million as settlement of their claim for breach of contract against the Gambia government. That is exactly what happened.
Okay. Before we come to the documents, what was the connection between Conapro and GFFI? Do you know?
Yes, the investors involved in this is the Conapro group. They came into the Gambia with a view to investing in the GFFI, that is the rice and feed mill that is located at Kamalu. And they also, claimed interest in other activities, but then of course, into the fuel supply as well. So it was the same group of people, but then interested in many, activities. But only two of these activities basically, were signed. Or contracts were signed. That is the oil supply contract and the GFFI, which is supposed to be a joint venture, project between the Conapro and the Gambia government.
Do you know when the fuel supply contract was signed? Do we have a copy?
Yes, I have a copy of the fuel supply contract here with me. I think it was signed in 2013.
Can you tell us the date and who signed, who were the parties, and yes, who signed on behalf of the parties?
The contract, fuel supply contract, was signed on behalf of the Gambia government by Dr. Njogu Elba, the then Secretary General and Minister of Presidential Affairs. And the contract is dated
It's not dated in the commencement clause?
No, it's a very, peculiarly drafted contract without a commencement clause, really. And so it's hard, and the signature page doesn't also have a date as such.
How do you know it's 2013?
Sorry?
How do you know it's 2013?
From the other correspondence surrounding the contract, I knew that it was signed in 2013, because there was correspondence from Conapro to that effect.
Who was Solicitor General at the time?
2013. Okay, no, the contract is dated 21st October 2010, actually.
2010?
Yes, 2010. Yes, 21st October 2010. From the letter, I could see that it says oil sales contract dated 21st October 2010. between CONAPRO and the Ministry of Petroleum and Government of the Gambia. Yes.
Wasn't this during the period when Euro-Africa Group had an exclusivity arrangement with the government?
I'm not sure the precise dates of the, exclusivity contract with Euro-Africa Group, but maybe that's something to be confirmed. But
very well.
Yes.
All right. Can we have that document?
Yes.
What other document? You have the CONAPRO claim?
Yes.
To the arbitration
I do have the
tribunal
claim as well. Yes.
Was it another exit arbitration?
Yes, it was. Yes.
You have the settlement agreement?
Yes, I do have the settlement agreement as well.
Can we have that as well?
Yes, I have the settlement agreement.
And what else do you have regarding this matter?
Yes, and of course the letter from the Ministry of Justice addressed to the Secretary General and copied to the Ministry of Agriculture and the GFFI Board of Directors, informing them of the outcome of the settlement, by which the GFFI, investment at the Kamalo was now under the sole ownership of the government of the Gambia.
Was the settlement approved by Cabinet?
I'm not sure. It was tabled before Cabinet. There's a letter dated 7th June, immediately after the settlement agreement was signed, which was sent to the Office of the Secretary General, informing him of the outcome of the settlement talks and agreement.
But do we know whether the government has approved the outcome of the settlement?
Certainly. The talks were approved by the government, and the Attorney General who represented the Gambia government had the blessing of the executive to enter into the settlement agreement. Yes, and I believe that the government has, after being informed of the outcome, without any objection, I believe that amounts to an approval of the settlement agreement. And actually payments have been effected, or a first payment has been effected by the Ministry of Finance as part of the settlement agreement. So that connotes approval.
The reason I ask is because we have witnesses have testified as if the arbitration is ongoing, and because of the pendency of the arbitration, nothing is actually happening at GFFI,
yes,
which is a very expensive facility,
indeed,
which seems to be going to waste. One doesn't understand why, if there has been, what was the date of the settlement?
The settlement was 5th May 2017. The 5th May 2017. And the letter that was written by the Attorney General's chambers to the Secretary General was 7th June, but then the Ministry of Agriculture were copied, the Chairman, GFFI Board of Directors was copied, the Managing Director, Social Security, Managing Director, GPA, and Managing Director, GNPC, who are the shareholders of the GFFI project, were all copied in this letter.
Let's have the documents. Don't you think, Mr. Solicitor General, that a cabinet conclusion was desirable, which would then be shared, as to what steps government intended to take now that the arbitration was concluded?
Well, I believe that when of course the settlement was reached, the Office of the Secretary General was informed, and a cabinet conclusion or cabinet it should have been tabled before cabinet, but then I'm not sure that was done. Maybe we can confirm from the Office of the Secretary General whether there was any cabinet conclusion on the matter after they were informed.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, may I apply to have admitted? Let's start from.
I also have the consent order, which was filed and registered confirming the terms of the settlement agreement at the High Court in England.
High Court in England?
Yes. Dated 22nd May 2017.
Okay. So the outcome of the arbitration is a subject matter of a binding judgment?
Yes.
Of the High Court in England?
Exactly, yes.
Okay. Can I have it this way? It's a Tomlin order.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, may I apply to have admitted a Tomlin order between claimant Konapro Dena BMS SAL and the Ministry of Petroleum of the Republic of the Gambia, letters written to the Secretary General on the outcome of the arbitration entitled Gambia Food and Feed Industries Update, settlement agreement between Konapro and the Republic of the Gambia, the claim made by Konapro before exit with regard to the arbitration, and a letter written by Konapro.
settlement agreement dated 5th May 2017 between CONAPRO, DINA, BMS, SAL, and the Republic of the Gambia, Ministry of Petroleum, and Pearl Investment, SAL, relating to GFFI, that is Gambia Food and Feed Industries, assets and operations at Kamalu, plus related documents in a bundle, admitted mark MS-88.
Mr. Marina,
Yes.
as regards the assets of GFFI, what was the settlement agreement?
Well, the agreement was that GFFI would be wholly owned and controlled by the Gambia government. The projects, basically, the facilities at the feed mill and the rice processing mill.
Of course, you know that various parastatals, including Gambia Ports Authority, Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation, as well as Gambia GNPC, Gambia National Petroleum, invested in GFFI. So how is this settlement intended to work in relation to these parastatals?
Well, I mean, that means certainly that the parastatals who had equity contributions in the project would basically have to decide among themselves how they would, share the proceeds of whatever is obtained from the project among themselves, I believe.
No, I asked the question because you said it would be wholly owned by a government.
Well, I mean, when I say government, meaning that those government entities that contributed towards the equity.
But the settlement sum would be settled by central government.
Yes, the settlement sum would be settled by central government.
It's not being in any way passed on to the shareholders.
No, certainly not, because the contract, oil supply contract, which was the main subject of the arbitration, was signed by the Gambia government, not the parastatals as such.
Do you know anything about the breaching of the contract?
The
breach of contract. Who breached the contract and why?
Well, I mean, the contract that was entered into by the government was entered into, as far as I know, without the involvement of the Ministry of Justice. There was no legal advice on the contract. And so when the contract was entered into, I think it was found out that it was not a contract that was favorable. In fact, according to the information that I have, it was that the contract was actually worse than the existing contract then the government had with Eagle. And as a result...
By Eagle, you mean Euro-Africa Group?
Euro-Africa Group, yes. And as a result, the government felt then that it could not honor the contract and, terminated the contract.
There was no termination clause?
Well, there was no termination clause, unfortunately. Like I said, it was a contract that was not subject to legal opinion. From the first time the Ministry of Justice knew about the existence of the contract was when, the CONAPRO initiated action, against the Gambia government. And then we realized that actually a contract was signed by, the Office of the President.
All right, thank you. Can you tell us about the next one? That's the Gali arbitration?
Yes, the Gali arbitration arose from the joint venture agreement between...
I would like to ask a question before we go to Galia.
Yes.
On the GFFI,
Yes.
what are the plans? 4.6 million at stake. The previous government or the current government cannot run that entity. What are the plans to make some profit out of this outfit?
Well, I think it is for the shareholders of the project, that is the Ps, public enterprises, which contributed to really they have a board of directors to sit down and really decide what they need to do about that, investment really.
Okay, it's been since May.
Yes.
Up to date.
Yes.
What has been done? Have they been asked to draw up a plan or strategy to realize some profit out of this, or to sell it and get back money? What has been done since settlement was reached?
Like I said, since the settlement was reached and the Ministry of Justice informed the Secretary General, we have not been privy to any instructions or directions given by the Office of the President to the, public enterprises as to what the next steps are. We have not been privy to that.
We are interested in the future plans. Thanks.
Yes, I'm sure the shareholders maybe, would need to sit down to decide what to do. Yes.
So go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioner.
The Galia arbitration arose out of the joint venture agreement between Galia Holdings, a Greek-based company, and the government of the Gambia for the purchase and operation of 2 ferries. That's the Al Jamdu and Kansala ferries. Of course, after the procurement of the ferries, the ferries could not operate because of some technical difficulties, which, I'm sure, the GPA and the Social Security would be able to shed more light on. But then when it was found out that the ferries could not operate, the Greek investors offered to sell their shares to the Gambia government. They, according to the joint venture, they own 55% of the shares. So they offered to sell their shares to the Gambia government and basically opt out of the project. They had valued their shares at 4.2 million euros. Of course, the Gambia government rejected the offer to buy the shares, and thereafter the Greek company initiated arbitration against the Gambia government, and they claimed that the Gambia government was under the obligation under the joint venture agreement to purchase the shares that they intended to dispose of. They also claimed for the return of the capital they had invested in the venture. According to them, they had invested about 3.8 million euros. They also claimed that the newly acquired ferries should be sold and the proceeds distributed among the shareholders, Gambia government and Galia. And they also claim loss of profit for the lack of operationalization of the ferries from July, when they were intended to start operations, to the date that they had initiated the arbitration proceedings in 2012. Of course, the arbitration was challenged, and right now, the arbitration proceedings are still on. They were stalled for a very long period of time because the Gambia government lawyers actually claimed security for cost of 100,000 euros, and the Greek investors were not forthcoming with that sum for a very long time, and that led to a stalling of the arbitration proceedings. And that is still the position. The arbitration is yet to move, really, since the filing of the claim.
So you have the claim?
Unfortunately, we are yet to lay hands on the claim, but we will endeavor to get a copy of the claims and submit it to the Commission.
So what is the status of the arbitration proceedings? Where are we?
Well, there was an attempt to actually, sit down and talk with the Greek investors and basically make it known to them what the position of the government was, and basically to tell them that their claims were not something that the government was willing to meet, but then they were not willing to budge. And what it is right now is that the arbitration would have to resume after that window of opportunity to talk this through out of court settlement.
Was the 100,000 security for costs ordered by the by the arbitration
Yes, it was
tribunal?
awarded by the, arbitration tribunal, but then they actually came up with a bank guarantee in the sum of 100,000 euros instead of the cash payment that was requested. But of course, the arbitration tribunal accepted that. As fulfillment of the security.
When is hearing going to be? It's not ripe for hearing?
Well, it's not ripe for hearing as it is right now because an opportunity was being given to the parties to settle. Out of the arbitration setting. Since that has failed now, the next step, of course, would be a resumption of the hearings or the actual start of hearings because it had not actually started. Hearings have not started.
Since 2012?
Yes, since 2012, hearings have not kicked off.
Mr. Marina, but meanwhile, we have two assets that by the evidence before this commission have been depreciating. They have not been maintained.
Yes.
So is there any plan? Why hasn't there been any interim orders for the preservation of the assets? To sell them maybe and put the money in some account pending arbitration? Has that been considered?
Well, in terms of the strategy, I think the new administration has not really had the time to really determine what the next steps would be after the failure of the settlement or attempt to settle. So that is something that we have to now consider in terms of what happens to the assets that were purchased and which seem not to be of any use, in the Gambia. So
when did the attempts to settle fail?
This was just a month and a half ago that the Attorney General actually had a meeting with the representative of Galia in Paris.
So who's representing us in this arbitration?
It's Mayor Brown legal firm.
Is it the same lawyers representing us in the CONAPRO arbitration?
Yes.
And the Kanaja arbitration?
Yes.
Mr. Marina, considering our terms of reference, we are, of course, I'm sure the Commission is interested in the assets, the investment that has been made by various parastatals running into millions of dollars and hundreds of millions of dollars. But the assets are deteriorating. It seems difficult to appreciate that there hasn't been time since January to put measures into place to ensure that there is some sort of interim order for the the protection or preservation of the assets. Particularly when Galia actually is asking for the assets to be sold. So that's my comment, on this matter. What is the next step for the government? Is there a next step? Has this matter gone to cabinet?
Well, yes, cabinet has been briefed about all the arbitrations that the new administration has inherited. And of course, the initial policy direction was that we try and settle all these arbitrations and not really proceed with, with them, based on, of course, the strengths and weaknesses of, the government's case in the respective arbitrations. And those were the attempts which were being made. And since the attempt on the part of Galia has not succeeded, we will need to proceed to arbitration. But of course, like you rightly suggested, we will need to inform our lawyers of the possibility of applying for interim orders to actually, dispose of the assets to actually make sure that the deterioration in the value does not continue, which is going to be a loss to both parties, really.
Thank you. Those are the only questions I have for the Solicitor General.
Okay. Are you finished with?
Yes, I have.
Thank you very much. SJ, you may leave.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, if I may apply for an indulgence, the PS Finance has been waiting since morning and he's traveling tonight. He just has documents to tender. If we may allow him to
Yes, we'll take him.
proceed. I call the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Finance.
Mr. Jallo, may we remind you of your oaths, that you're still under oath? Yep, you can have a seat. So.
Jallo, you were here the last time on the Mahindra tractors, and you undertook to provide some documents and also information.
So we did consulted the Gambia Revenue Authority and the Office of the Accountant General.
Sorry, you did consult?
The Gambia Revenue Authority
Okay.
and the Office of the Accountant General. And they did confirm that there is no lodgement of proceeds from the sale of tractors from KGI.
So the sale of the tractors by KGI
was not lodged in any of the government accounts.
You'll have to speak up, please, a little bit. Raise the volume of your voice. That the proceeds of the sale have not been paid into Gambia government revenue.
Yes.
All right. You are going to also do a calculation to confirm to us how much it would cost the taxpayer when the full loan is mature and paid off. Have you done that?
Yes, I did provide that information in the last proceedings.
Did you? It's not captured by the record I have seen. Do you have it again?
No, I didn't bring it along.
You did the calculation the last time?
Yes, we did.
Unfortunately,
it was around $6.8 million.
When everything is paid?
Yes.
All right, maybe you can submit it again to the Secretariat. That's why I said the record that I have from the transcription record doesn't capture it.
Okay.
We did obtain the signed loan agreement, so you don't have to tender that, because we did ask you to bring the signed page.
Okay.
But you produced some documents which I gave you back. Do you have them?
No, you did not give me back documents.
I did not give you back some documents.
No.
The completion report for the project.
No, we didn't have that document.
There is no completion report for the project?
Unfortunately, no.
Who was supposed to produce the completion report for the project?
It was supposed to be, because the Ministry of Works at the time were coordinating the implementation of that project. So they were supposed to ensure that there was a project completion report.
Isn't it normal to have a completion report for the project? And I believe the Indian government did ask for a completion report.
Yes, a certificate of completion. In fact, we have just recently engaged them, and they said that we need to produce that certificate of completion. And we have consulted the Ministry of Works on that.
Can you produce a certificate of completion when the intended purpose for the project has not been met? What certificate can you produce? the tractors have disappeared more or less, the money didn't come back, there has been no agricultural mechanization. So what certificate can you produce?
Well, unfortunately, this is what we have inherited, so, and so, unfortunately, this is what has happened.
You were going to produce the Maintenance Service Agency report indicating that the tractors had been assembled according to the record. You did not take notes when you were here the last time?
I did not, but I don't remember you asked me that question.
So what documents do you have for us today with regard to the Mahindra tractors?
I was told to confirm whether the proceeds from the sale of tractors were lodged, and
whether
the proceeds from the sale of the tractors were lodged in any of the government bank accounts. So I've got confirmation from the Office of the Accountant General and the Gambia Revenue Authority.
You have information from them, or
Confirmation,
is it oral?
yes.
It's oral confirmation.
No, written confirmation.
Yes, let's have that, please.
Sorry?
We can have it, the written confirmation. Is it a letter?
Yes.
Letters written by GRA and Accountant General?
Yes.
You were also supposed to produce a contract for the sale of maintenance service agency premises at Kotu.
Yes, but unfortunately we could not trace the sales agreement. I am told that it must have been one of the documents that were tendered in court, because one of the acting chief executive officer at the time was involved in a court case.
Who was the chief executive officer at the time?
It was Paul Conte.
Have you tried to find out from the court whether it's there?
No, I didn't attempt to find out from the courts. But the MSA was sold to Unique Transport Systems Company.
Was sold to?
Unique Transport Systems Company.
Unique?
Transport Systems Company.
Unique Transport Systems?
Company.
What is this company? Where are they?
I don't have their address. What we also did as a ministry, we tried to confirm from the register of companies whether the company was a registered company.
What document do you have to confirm this information that the MSG was sold to Unique Transport Systems Company?
The document I have is the Honorable Minister in 2009 was asked to answer certain questions relating to the sale of the Maintenance Services Agency. So it was a National Assembly question. And the answer that was provided by the minister at the time. So there is a letter that we had addressed to the clerk of the National Assembly explaining that the Maintenance Services Agency was sold to the Unique Transport Systems Company for $1.3 million US.
For $1.3
million US. So that's the letter that was addressed to the
Let's have the letter. What do you know what the relationship is between the maintenance service or the facility after it was sold with the government?
Sorry?
Was there any relationship between that facility after it was sold with government?
What I know is that there was a presidential decision that maintenance services agency should be privatized by the end of 2008. And then around December 2008, a decision was taken that it should be sold to this Unique Transport Systems company. That's all I have seen in the records.
Do we have the letters, those letters that you are referring to from the Office of the President, that it should be privatized? And what other documents do you have relating to this matter?
This is the confirmation from the Office of the Registrar of Companies relating to the registration of this particular company.
Yes, can I have it? Every other document that you have, can you tell us quickly so that...
Essentially, those are the ones I have, relevant ones.
Where is the question and answer from the National Assembly?
It's in the document.
All right. Who was the Minister of Finance at the time? You mentioned the Minister of Finance.
Yeah, it was then Abdul Koli.
Abdul?
Abdul Koli.
Those are the only documents, all the documents that you have?
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman, may I apply to have admitted 2 letters concerning the Mahindra tractors from Gambia Revenue Authority and the Accountant General, as separately from documents relating to the acquisition of maintenance service agency by Unique Transport Systems Company.
Letter dated 23rd October 2017 from GRA to Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Finance, confirming no sales proceeds were received in relation to the sale of tractors by KGI, plus letter dated 25th October 2017 from the Accountant General to the Permanent Secretary Finance, confirming no deposit of proceeds from the sale of tractors
by KGI were lodged in any government bank account since 2006. Admitted, Mark MS-89A. Letter dated 6 November 2017 from the Registrar of Companies to the Ministry of Finance, informing that Unit Transport Systems Company is not on either historical or electronic records, plus letter dated 16th January 2008 from Office of the President to Chief Executive, Gambia in this divestiture. Agency. The intimation by the ex-president that MSA, Management Services Agency, GPTC, and other public institutions that are a burden to the Ministry of Finance must be privatized before end of 2008. Admitted, marked MS-89B. Letter dated 23rd November 2009 from Ministry of Finance to the Clerk of the National Assembly, forwarding the answers to the parliamentary questions for oral answers raised during the fourth meeting of the National Assembly budget session in the 2009 legislative session. Admitted and marked MS-89C.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is that all you have for
Yes,
these
for
two
this,
issues?
yes.
We'll have to get you back another time for other, but otherwise I don't have further questions.
Mr. Jallo, I just have two questions, please. Regarding the sale of MSA to Unique Transport Systems Company, can you just tell us if the amount was fully paid into government's coffers?
Yes.
It's been fully paid?
Yes.
Was a valuation done of MSA before it was sold?
Yes, there was an evaluation that was done up to end of 2004. But this actual sale took place in 2008. Yeah, so there was one that was done, but the assessment was just done up to end of 2004. And the then assessment indicated that the value of MSA at the time was equivalent to $22 million at that time, as at the end of 2004.
I see. One of the exhibits just admitted from the Registrar of Companies, it says that Unique Transport Systems Company is not registered.
Yes.
They have no record of it. Can you tell us, I don't know, if you know who is behind that company, or whether a due diligence was done on the company, just so we have an idea?
Well, there are rumors that the company is owned by the former president. In fact, that was the reason why we decided, the ministry, to take a step further just to find out from the AG chambers the shareholding structure or the ownership structure of this company. But it turns out that when we wrote to them that this company was not in their database. That was the reason why the ministry wrote.
Okay. But then the payments that went into government coffers, it actually came from accounts that were opened by MSA, by this Unique Transport Systems?
No, by the government of the Gambia. The payments were lodged into what we call the divestiture fund account.
Yes, but I mean the payments into that account, the divestiture account, was from UTSC's account?
Yes, from UD. I also engaged the central bank, but it appears that in their deposit slips, they were not indicating, the name of the depositor. That was the what I have observed. But actually, they told me that they have paid.
Okay, so at the moment we do not really have much information about UTSC in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's the information I have so far about the company.
I see. Okay, and finally, I think you were asked that question before, but I didn't quite hear what you responded to that. It's relating to the amount that was given to us by the Exim Bank. I think one of the statements made is that a certificate of completion has to be submitted. But I didn't quite get what you responded.
What I said is that at the end of the project, there should be a certificate of completion. But it turns out that there was none for this particular project, yes. And I did mention that the actual loan amount was $5.8 million US dollars. That was the actual loan. But plus interest up to maturity, that is in 2026, the entire cost would be $6.8 million. We can put it in writing. But I did explain that in the last proceedings.
Yes. Now I was just interested in the certificate of completion. But should one be submitted to the fund, if I call it that?
No, the certificate of completion should have been submitted to the creditor itself.
The one, I'm not hearing.
The Exim Bank.
Yes.
Yeah.
One should be submitted to them.
At the end of the project.
Okay. So if in this case we know that, well, the objective was not really met of why the money was given, I guess this is something that maybe the ministry is thinking of how you're going to deal with that. Yes?
Yes. And that's the reason why we have started those engagements with the Ministry of Works to ensure that we have a certificate of completion done for this particular project. I know it will be a big challenge, but at least we have to embark on this particular assignment because it's a requirement from the creditor.
Yes. We are aware of that it's a requirement, so we're quite interested to know what. So at least at some point we'd like to know what the outcome is of that. Yeah, okay. Because really the objective of it was not met.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you.
That's all for the witness for today.
You may leave.
We have other witnesses, but
very well, we'll rise. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 o'clock